My name is Dave Voigts. I'm a former naval officer. I'm a graduate of the United States Naval Academy. I have a degree in control systems engineering, and I worked in electronics warfare and nuclear engineering jobs as a surface warfare officer. While I was in the service, I found out about this targeting program. This is psychological warfare. This is a profession, just like there are Navy ships that do, surface warfare, submarine warfare, anti-air warfare. We've got people that, in the infantry and the Army, they do that sort of work, and we've got, an Air Force that does strategic bombers. Those are the things that you kind of see on the news. This program deals with mind control and human-machine interface weapons. They did so much work back in the 50s and 60s that dealt with the human body and how do we, how does the auditory information, visual information, tactile information, how is that represented in the body, and how can we manipulate, read that information? Well, we've gotten to the point with the modern computing that we're able to accurately depict the body's basically all the senses of the body. So the personality overlays, that's basically a recording. You're recording a person that's in a specific emotional state. So say rage, or even something as simple as stubbed your toe, or morning sickness, or you've got a cold. You can take that raw sensory information and then process it into a way that it generally fits into any bioelectrical system. And so you provide a bioelectrical input to the body, and then that person will experience that physical sensation that has been recorded previously. We have, like in the movie industry, they have what they call a Foley artist, and they have just libraries of all the different sounds that you could possibly want to use in a movie, or say like stock video footage. Something that's in a library of information that can be used. Well, this program uses the same sort of library. It's a pre-planned existing library of information that can be played onto a person's bioelectrical system. And V2K is kind of a colloquialism for technologies that can provide auditory input into the body. Nowadays it's crystal clear interface with the human bioelectrical system. So it's not quite necessarily just a hit. It's more complex. You can get, all of the, whatever school of psychology you follow. If it's whatever, different psychologists will say there's like 7 basic human emotions or whatever. You can get into even some of the, submodalities of each of those with this technology. But separately, the synthetic telepathy, that is the more advanced human-machine interface system that completely interfaces with the body's bioelectrical system. So not only can you get auditory information from that system, you can get gustatory, smell and taste, as well as full-on tactile. Every square inch of your body can be, they can, in the centers which perceive that information in the brain, are stimulated, and you can create, any, like we said before, it's a recording or live information of, any sort of touch that you can imagine. With this technology, you can, just as sure as it feels like, you're being cut or burned or punched, or, they can create any, touch sensation with this technology. It's kind of a completely bi-directional system that could hurt you. They can hurt you while they talk to you and hurt you at the same time. So it's full-on torture with this system. So when you're talking about creating kind of like a conflict within the person, that's like some of the, if you start any process, it starts out people doing it by hand, and then eventually they automate it. So a lot of this is done with algorithms. So, a lot of the, in the past, say in the, whatever it was, 60s, 70s, 80s, where they would have to do this type of co-intel type of attack, it might be labor intensive. You might have to hire, 30 guys or 40 guys to pull one of these programs off. So at some point, they wanted to automate it and go, repurpose their operatives for other assignments. And so what they came up with was what they call a psychotronic mind virus. That's kind of passé term or outdated. But it's just the idea that you automate this psychological warfare process. So you have a system that is able to interface with the body and provide the sensation of touch. And for a lot of targets, what they'll do is they'll split the body in half and make all the touches on the, say, one side of the body, they'll condition it to like no, or they'll condition the right side of the body to yes. And just with those two words, being able to communicate no and yes, you can cause a lot of inner turmoil just by being contradictory with the person. So I guess the best way to explain it is they used to have these games, were question and answer games that you would play with a computer. I think it was back in the 80s or something like that. And it was the forerunners of like artificial intelligence. And just by playing a yes/no game, you can cause a lot of strife with the person, contradicting them, and then anything that would build confidence, you try to negate that, and then anything that would cause them to be upset, you reinforce that. Or depending on where the program's working, they try to induce manic and depressive states. One of the key one of the key elements to any psych warfare program like this is sleep deprivation. So when you're in a vulnerable state, it's just one of those things that they'll amp up. And two, from my experience, it seems like if you're concentrating on something and you're intent, if you're doing work that involves a lot of physical movement or concentration, it seems to be more of your focus is taken away, and I think it's a matter of focus. So when you're lying down to sleep, you're less focused, and then it's just a situation where when you're in a different state of mind like that, less focused, that the system is able to have a larger input, and so that it kind of goes to work on you in that sense. But I'm one of those people that clearly thinks this is worldwide, ground penetrating type of radar system, that there's just nowhere you can go that you're not going to be clearly linked with this system.
And I think something that might be insightful for people who don't know this already and maybe have a hard time understanding, that it can affect everyone around you too. That they can do little tricky things with the people around.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate reality that you have to explain this to the public. We're so lucky with the Snowden movie that they demonstrated kind of the 3-hop system. So you think in that movie they show graphical user interface. Think of it like a web browser, like the tabbed browsing they now have, where you can have 1, 2, and 3 tabs. Imagine the first tab is what they call the first hop. So say an average person has 40 contacts, in their social network, on their Facebook page, or among their friends and family. That's their normal social network. Well, then each of those 40 has 40 again, and that would be the second hop. So that second tab would have 40 times 40. And then the third tab, of each of those, however many of those contacts work out to, and they say, okay, for one target, if you monitor one person, now you are allowing yourself to gather all the phone data from I think they said 1.5 or 2.5 million people just by monitoring one person. And so it seems like there's a similar situation here. If they take, say, whatever it is, 10,000, 20,000 targets, and they're putting those targets on this system, if they go 3 hops out, they kind of give themselves permission to really put everyone on it. And it's such a stretch for people to understand that it's not just TIs. It really could be everyone, just in the same way that they have given themselves permission to do dragnet surveillance on everyone in the United States, just from monitoring a few people's phone messages, And sort of the same, that bit where they were trying to discredit people, most of the public is not aware that this technology exists. The thing you got to understand about this program, it's all about trickery and deception. This is a system that has been researched since the 70s and, has been obviously funded year over year, and it's been perfected, kind of to what we're experiencing now as TIs.